Now we're recording.
Now we're recording. All right. Perfect. All right. Well, welcome to another edition of In the Moment with me, your host, Michael D. Jones. And today, I'm beside myself. I'm here with Rainn Wilson. This guy. Oh, man, seriously.
This guy.
No. I'm so excited. You know, listen, we all know the iconic character, Dwight from The Office. I came to the show late. It's one of those things, my kids told me about it. I'm like, whatever, just like Family Guy. And then once I saw it, I was hooked. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just set forever. So, but there's so many things I want to ask you. So I was very blessed last year to do a movie with Rainn. It's called Code 3. It's going to be coming out this year. We are now in 2024. But there's just so many things that I've learned about Rainn that's not just The Office. And I read your book.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. There's so many, because you have Soul Pancake, which is your company, but Soul Boom is your book.
That's right.
And that is the one that I've read.
Oh, look at this, Michael D. Jones. I just happen to have a copy right here.
Look at that. It's an amazing book. And so I want to tap into that because we can get into Hollywood and all those elements. But what I like about your book, and I think it's so true with what's going on in the world and right now, is we need a spiritual boom, the spiritual essence. And what I love is a lot of us, like you said, we're spiritual but not religious. And there are so many things that you talk about and you tap into. And I just want to say thank you for writing something like this. Because I think you're like, oh, just, Hollywood movie stars, they do this stuff, but are they really tapped in? Are they being honest and sincere? And I really felt that. And not only do I have the book, but I also listen to the audio.
Wow.
Because it's really good for me when I walk my dog and I hear things and I catch things. And I really enjoyed it. And so what got you to that point to write something like this?
Well, I have said before, like, I have a secret inner Oprah. So I know it's kind of weird. And the whole first chapter is like, why the hell would a guy who played Dwight on a sitcom write a book about spirituality? It's kind of a weird disconnect. It's like, wait, what? But this has been a passion of mine for 20 or 30 years. And I've read a ton and studied a ton and prayed a ton and suffered a ton and meditated and, investigating spiritual ideas and spiritual solutions for problems and issues, both on a personal level, but also a societal level. Is just a huge passion of mine. So I had been collecting ideas for a book. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know. I was thinking, should I write a book about God, or I write a book about finding faith? Or I'd already written a book. Oh, look at this, Michael.
Another one.
I wrote a comedic memoir of my life called The Bassoon King. And then basically COVID hit. And I just started, I was like, this is my chance. Like, I'm not going to be shooting just really shut down for almost a year and a half. And I was like, this is my opportunity, So I started furiously outlining, and I wrote the first chapter, which came pretty easily. And then I wrote a kind of a cover letter, and I sent it out with my book agent. It got rejected everywhere. It got rejected 12 out of the 13 places that we sent it to. And guess what? Place number 13. One is all you need. They came in, and it was a great partnership with Hachette Books. And I spent 3 years writing this thing.
Wow.
And it really, for me, was like, this is like getting hit by a bus book. That's what I call it. Like, if I get hit by a bus, and in case anyone gives a fuck about who I am or what I believe or think or anything, like, it's all here. I just, in fact, they've been after me, the editor, like, okay, what's your next book? And it's like, I don't know that I have a next book. It's really all in here. So because you picked up on that, like, it's a credo, it's a personal journey, it's philosophical. I try and make it funny along the way.
Yes, you do.
And because I truly believe, and I know that you feel the same way, that the world needs, we all need spiritual solutions to so much of the problems and the diseases and the issues that are going on in the world right now. You talk a lot about joy and gratitude and giving back, and those are all key philosophical foundations of, of religion, of faith beliefs, and of being spiritual but not religious. And so it's called Why We Need a Spiritual Revolution. Like you said, we need a soul boom, and I think we need we need a revolution.
I think so. One of the things in your book, you touch upon COVID, and I'd say the same thing. When COVID hit, my daughter Audra was living with me. Happened to be at the time. She was in Portland. She came up. It was great. So it was just father and daughter, and we're figuring it out. And I do believe, and I tell people all the time, as sad as it was, I do believe it was a blessing and a curse, because it had a lot of people wake up. And for me too. And I was like, what do I want to do with my life? What's next? I love movies, all this is great, but what's the next chapter? And I found myself painting again, which I had stopped.
Wow.
And then I had decided to write a book. Same thing, Manifesting Joy and Happiness Daily. Like, what is that daily thing that's going to bring us? Because we didn't know it was going to end. So what's next? And you do think about death, so to speak, and how it is. And in your book, there's a chapter you have on death. And some people might think, oh my God, Rainn Wilson's writing about death. But it's not what you think. It's also about the appreciation of life. And there's a quote I love, and I remember when we had our first kid, the book in the opening, it says, what is life but death begun? And I always love that quote. And you touch upon that on so many levels, that it can be the death of the soul, the death of, just this suit that we have, but it is our energy, this consciousness that goes on. And this is why I love pondering, and this is what I enjoyed about your book, is that you're talking about all these entities, and it's so beautiful. And then you have this touching story about your father and all of that. I don't need to go into it. You have to read the book and listen to it.
Whatever detail you want to go into.
I just think it's, here you are, your father's passed, you're doing something that you need to cleanse the body, and you can't find the right bowl. So you're trying to it's a whole thing. So Rainn has to go to Target. He's got the mask on. He's trying to find the right bowl. He has to get back in time. And it was just beautiful, because here it is in death. And then you tell the story, you think like your father's probably looking down, just laughing like, oh my gosh, this is exactly how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just as we get older, you start to process and you say, what's important? Who's important in my life? What do I want to do? Who do I want to work with? And I just really enjoyed your book, because it's something that it's not over the top, so hard or dense. It's just very easy. It's an easy read. And also it's a lot better when you hear Rainn, because it's just beautiful, because you hear your voice, you have comedic moments, and you just make it easy to understand. And I really appreciated that. I have not read the first book, but I will. But no, this one's really important. And I'm grateful. Because again, seriously, because not only do you touch upon here in the States, you touch upon the world, and just how as a collective we can be.
Yeah.
I don't talk about some of that.
Well, to me, and I'm a member of the Baha'i faith, so I come at it from a particular slant. But to me, it seems like there are essentially two branches of spirituality. One is the personal, and I liken that in the book to the TV show Kung Fu.
Yes, we're going to get into that and see. Yes.
Okay, but this is how we use spiritual tools to reduce anxiety, to feel more connected, to ground ourselves, to connect to nature, to commune with God, to make ourselves better people, to become more compassionate and more joyful and filled with more gratitude as we go about our day. So that is a really important facet of spirituality. In Western society right now, that's the main one that people focus on. But there's another aspect of spirituality that's less examined, and this I compare to Star Trek, which is societally, what are spiritual tools we collectively as a species on this planet, as 7 billion of us or 8 billion of us, however many there are, we're all 7 or 8 billion waves on one ocean. And how do we relate to each other? And can we use spiritual laws, I hate the word laws, but spiritual concepts, precepts, foundations to build connection between us, so that we're in collaboration, we're in connection, we're in community and cooperation, instead of in one-upsmanship and competition and aggression and all of the worst aspects of humanity we see in our political system, for instance. We just see the worst of humanity. Yeah. It's about tearing the other person down. It's about seeking power, seeking control. But we never have a conversation about, hey, maybe we need to not just change how democracy works or how gerrymandering works or pass another legislation or law or bill or something like that, but completely re-examine how it is that we want to govern ourselves. How do we govern with cooperation and kindness and compassion? I do believe it's possible. I don't think that's an airy-fairy, hippy-dippy, naive way of looking at things. I think we have to get there.
Yeah, we all want the same thing. And that's what's so sad. I felt like a few years ago, we as a society were doing pretty good, and we've just gone backwards. I mean, the fact I open the news and I see that they're claiming that, Taylor Swift is a plant for the Pentagon. All this, I'm like, oh my God, how's that? Like, we have so many more issues in this world to deal with. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's great.
But she is, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
She is an android.
Yeah, she's,
she was created in the basement of the Pentagon to swing this election.
And that's what's so funny is that, we all have our ideals. And I think at the end of the, even in your book, you talk about, I don't know if it's a scientist or someone, that DNA, if you look at it on paper, we're all the same. And once you start adding the colors and this and that, and that's why I tell people, just close your eyes. What does someone look like? What are you really feeling? That's the person you want to get to know. It's not about your white, black, rich, or poor. It is that essence.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just feel I still have hope.
Yeah.
I have hope as a human being. I have hope as, whatever, that there's this other world beyond. Yeah. I have to believe that. I believe in my angels and whatever. And I'm just going to go with that. And that's what is so nice about not only your book, but just your philosophy. I don't know much about the Baha'i faith, but again, I think it's the same thing, is everyone has a core message. You love one another, you be good, you do something great, you pay it forward. All the principles are there with all these entities. It's people that practice it, though. Because everyone can say that, oh, that's great. I mean, this and that, but no one practices it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then you're just a facade. You're not really believing in it. And this is another thing about COVID, reducing some of the stuff that makes us safe. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's about taking care of my family. It's about taking care of my mental health. Mental health is huge.
Yeah.
And there's just so much right now that it's coming at us so fast, like your Star Trek analogy. And your book has got a lot of Star Trek in it. But there's so much coming at us. And how do we stop the noise? I turned off all social media for the month of December. I got more done. I felt clear. I was like, oh my God. And I didn't miss anything. The world kept going. No one gave a rat's butt about what I posted or not. And I didn't care. And I'm like, I got shit done.
Nice. Yeah.
And you talk about that. You talk about, in society right now, again, the pressures and all the things of, we have to be on our phones. We have to be up to date. Am I going to miss out? FOMO, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it is so nice to just stop. And you're like, oh, calm, peace. What does that really look like?
Well, there's such a link between spirituality and mental health that we're starting a new Soul Boom podcast, and I'm kind of doing some pre-records, and I got to interview Dr. Lisa Miller from Columbia University, and her study is psychology and spirituality. And she's really an amazing teacher and writer. She wrote a book called The Awakened Brain. It's really beautiful. But yeah, you talked about social media, but there's so many things that distract us and take us away from our center, and a lot of it has to do with these little microcomputers in our pockets where we have endless, anything you want to numb out is there. It's YouTube videos or TikTok. It could be porn. It can be Candy Crush. It can be buying things on Amazon. I have a little app where you can shop for like luxury watches. I'm not buying luxury watches, but it's just crazy. Yeah. And you can numb out. And there's nothing wrong with like taking some time off and having some entertainment. Right. But this is one of the aspects of, can you imagine growing up where this is your reality, this little microcomputer? So you're never bored again. And if you're feeling discontent and disconnected, lonely, sad, anxious, you just go to your phone. And I mean, there's so much more to the mental health epidemic than that, but
Correct.
it's such a key component. So part of spirituality is meditation and prayer and other tools like gratitude that we use to kind of help our lives. But part of it is also an understanding that suffering is a part of being a human being, and discontent and dis-ease, and these can be teachers for us. A test, a struggle is a gift in a way. And that sounds terrible if someone might be dealing with skin cancer or something health-wise or something like that. But it's very true that these things are spiritual teachers. And how much are you grateful for big tests and trials and tribulations that you've had in the past that at the time you thought they were going to kill you. But now looking back on it, you're like, wow, I'm really glad I went through that.
I was telling that someone today that sometimes, we've all gotten fired from a job or a relationship that's bad or whatever. And it's at the time, like, oh my, but it was so much better. You needed that to happen to grow and to feel, and then what's better. And I'm so grateful for that. There was really a point after COVID, I realized there's certain people I just don't want to work with. I just have no interest. And they call me, I'm like, I don't care what you offer. I said, my time and my mental health is way more important than that. That doesn't serve me anymore. And I'm learning to realize, say, this doesn't align with my goals or my vision or my thought process. And I really am thinking about, what is that next step? How do I give back? And I want, which I would love, is for younger people to really tackle this early. Start learning it's okay to dream and to think and to communicate. And you're right, having these phones are fantastic and they can connect us to the world, but yet everyone's so isolated and alone. And they feel shunned. Oh, I don't have that new car. I'm a loser. I don't have that thing, whatever. And it's like, no, put that aside. Just go back to the natural order of just being a true human being and really connecting. And I think hopefully that's something where we can kind of connect and just communicate and find that essence. What's that thing? We all want good health. We want to be happy. We want to laugh. We want to be loved. We want to smile. And, you see the power of how much a smile or a hug can uplift and just give, and especially kids. They just need that. I don't know, because I grew up as an only child latchkey kid. I had to figure out a lot of shit on my own. And I just did, and that's fine. I also built a different way. But, it just, I don't know. I have hope for us.
Nice. I love it. Well, we need optimism, and it's a very cynical world. It's easy to get down. It's easy to get dark and pessimistic, and we need people that can spread hope and keep hope alive. And and honestly, part of that is what we can do in storytelling, by being in Hollywood and telling these stories. It's, there's a lot of serial killer stories and gunfight movies and kind of lowest common denominator movies, and there'll always be an audience for that. But we can do our best to help kind of tell uplifting and connective stories. Yeah.
Well, that's what I love about the movie we just did, Code 3. And it's a day in the life of a paramedic, EMT. And again, things that we just take for granted. You see an ambulance go by, whatever. You don't really think, again, that is a person with an experience going through their same shit. They've got bills, relationships, whatever, and also dealing with death or whatever all day long. And how do they maintain that? So while the movie we did, it has some dark humor to it, there's also a human factor. And I felt that was beautiful. And listen, I'm going to be honest, when I'm on set, I don't really talk to the cast a lot. I just do my job. So I don't bother Rainn. He's in his mode doing his thing, but we had a couple of conversations. But I've always respected, I would watch you, how you took it to heart and really just gave it, the persona, the character, just a realness, which is great. And a lot of times too, comedic actors can do things very subtle with a gesture or a move or just a look. And you did that a lot. And that's the one thing I always took away from that. Thanks. Like those moments, like, oh my gosh, that says it all. Anyway, I love that.
Oh, thanks. Well, I we don't have a distributor yet, but hopefully that movie gets out there and people get to see it. I really think it is a special it's a special
No,
film.
it is. It is. Now, one of the things I will say that makes everybody happy is comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I got to say, The Office.
Mm-hmm.
It is probably the most iconic, the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first off, just to have an iconic character like that you created, the whole thing. And what I love, like everyone is watching the bloopers and all the funny stuff. I'm sure you've talked about this 1,000 times, but how was it for you? Like, really? What? No, I don't know narrative television like that with the comedy. Was a lot of it? I know you were scripted. Was a lot of it improv, or a lot just on the fly? And it's a match, and they go, "Oh my god, just use that. That's great." And you guys just riff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this is. I mean, I've talked about this before. I mean, it was such a special show, and one of the reasons I think it has really caught fire and become a classic is everything hit in the right way at the right time. Greg Daniels, the creator, was very into improvisation. He cast like improvisational actors. So we would always get to embellish the scripts. We always filmed it as written, but we also brought our own thing to it. It was very collaborative. So they're very open to kind of notes and ideas. And that was amazing too. The cast got along great. A lot of the writers were in the cast, so we really got to know the writers. And the writers' room, normally you're on a TV show. You could be on a TV show in Vancouver, and the writers' room is in Burbank. And you never see the writers, except once or twice they'll show up on set. But our writers were right next door. So we would pop in on a lunch break and listen to how they're breaking stories. So it just felt like this really like fun-loving, collaborative environment. And I would say, in terms of improv itself, I would say 3/4 of what you see is scripted and about 1/4 is improvised at the end of the day. I always love it when people come and say like, oh, my favorite Dwight line is this, or my favorite Dwight moment is this, and it's something that I improvised. Then I feel like, okay, I'm onto something.
I love it. Oh, it's one of those things that's like, I my daughter will crack up. We'll spend 20 minutes trying to find something on Netflix. I'm like, just put on The Office. You can just throw it on. It's just anytime, any episode, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And I think everyone loved that moment when you're on the plane and the guy's next to you and he's watching the show laughing and you've got the COVID mask on and you like kind of pull it down, you look at him and that's going to be so surreal for him.
Yeah. That had happened. That really took off on social media, but that had happened a whole bunch of times.
Wow.
And there's the other funny thing is like sometimes you'll do like an overnight flight, like an international flight, and like you go to use the bathroom and it's all the TV screens are on and you walk down the aisle and like every other screen is The Office and it's like The Office, and you're walking to go pee and you're all over, or sometimes it's frozen, someone's paused it, it's my face going.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
I love it. I mean, I feel we're so blessed. I started off, wanting to be an actor. I did some acting. I segued behind the scenes, and it's that accomplishment. You feel good. And when I started off, I did a lot of TV that I'm very proud of. I'm like, oh my gosh, my daughter, I forget. She's like, Dad, I saw your name again in high school. I'm like, I forget. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I'm so glad I got to work with you to say that, and not even just it was Dwight and you, it's just you as a person, like really, and I mean that because I did have a good time on the movie and our crew and what we accomplished, and I'm very proud of that particular film and what we have, and I just I know there's more. So what's next for you? Because I know you've got 10,000 things happening. What's going on?
Well, just did a role in this show called Lessons in Chemistry on Apple. Came out a couple months ago, and I'm filming another independent film later this year, which means I'm not going to make any money.
You're doing it for the art.
And I think I'm going to do a play at the Geffen Playhouse this fall, and I'm trying to, I started in theater. I did 10 years of theater before I did any TV or film. And I would love to go back. And now that I've got the time and the money, my son's off in college. And then I'm trying to find the right TV thing to do. I'm developing a couple of ideas and, I get a couple of kind of lame offers, but I'm trying to navigate that and figure out what TV might be next for me. But maybe writing another book, and helping. I'm either writing or co-writing a couple of screenplays. I'd like to do more directing, stuff like that. So I've got a lot of irons in the fire, and but I'm in a great situation.
I love that. I mean, again, you have, I don't want to say reached, because you've not reached the top, because that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. There's still so much more that you're going to get to. And I love the fact you talk about doing plays. One of my dear friends is Dan. He's an actor, famous TV actor. And any chance he gets, he does a play on Broadway, or he's written a play right now. He's taking it back to New York. And it's like he just wants to always keep that crowd going. Yeah. And I just find that's really great to hear from an actor's point of view, because so many people nowadays, I did a TikTok video. Where's my 3-picture deal? Like, no one wants to put in the work. Nobody wants to go to the theater. And I said, Dan, why do you like theater? He's like, because no one can yell cut. Because I'm in the moment. I'm doing a play. I'm there. No one's stopping us. And I think that's beautiful, especially in that craft. And then you talk about directing, and which is great. And so you see that's something as another outlet that is really pursuing you. Like, do you see movies like, okay, I want to be doing that, or only I can tell this particular story and I should be doing it, and this is my foray into something.
It's that, and it's also I've done a lot of things. Like, I didn't know I could write books. I wrote books. I didn't know I could start a production company. I started a production company. I didn't know I could star in things, and I've done that. I've produced, movies and TV and podcasts and the whole deal. It's a challenge too. Part of it is like, directing is freaking hard. It's one of the hardest jobs on the planet. When you've got, you've got 25 days and $10 million and a crew of 200, and
they're all asking questions,
and they all need something from you, and it's this just condensed thing, and you want to tell this beautiful story that feels like $20 million on the screen, and it's incredibly challenging. And I've done some directing on the TV side, and I've learned a lot from watching and working with directors and DPs and stuff like that. So it's just a territory I'd love to explore and challenge myself in.
I love that. I think, Rick Rubin, I was listening to him the other day, and he said something about, don't say you can't do it, you just haven't done it yet. And that is so true. I mean, when I first started, I didn't know how to produce, I didn't know how to do this. And I learned. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So why limit ourselves? Again, same thing. My girlfriend and I were flying to Paris. I said, I'm going to write my book. I wrote it on little paragraph papers. By the time I landed, came back, I worked on it, just because, why not?
Yeah.
And that's the point. I tell people, why not? So many people are afraid to do anything because there's this fear factor. And I just tell you, you can do it. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish it. And seriously, and that goes for anything. I don't let anything kind of keep me down. And again, we talked about some in your book, or sometimes even we can kind of get in a dark place. All of us. I've trained myself not to stay there forever, because I think it's healthy to go to that dark place and say, what? It's okay to sit here alone and just cry and curl up and feel insecure or feel whatever. I want to feel that, because then I'm human. But I know I'm not going to stay in it forever. And I allow myself that. I say, okay, I needed that, because again, that's that shedding, is that cocoon. It's like, I needed that. Boom, now I can go on and recharge. And this happens, not all the time, but it is nice to acknowledge that. And I feel, and another thing I'm really liking or hearing is that some of the young people I've talked to are more open, and even men are now open to therapy.
That's true.
Saying that is okay, and being sensitive.
It's way different than even 10 or 20 years ago. Yeah.
There was such a stigma. Now, I don't want to make it like, oh, that's the cool thing, like Peloton, because that's how some people are. But I do believe there's a lot of
Peloton therapy would be good.
That could be, that we have some good ideas.
Peloton should offer therapists. So you're on the bike and like, hi, how are you feeling?
Keep going. You can do it. You can go up.
Hey, Ronnie. Yeah. Let's step it up.
Yeah.
Let's get up to 15 miles an hour, push up this hill. So tell me about your mother. Yeah. What's your relationship like?
That's a good idea.
And your big face is on the screen.
Yeah. I love that. No, I just think that's something right now that if we can take away these stigmas, and it's okay for men to cry, men to feel, or just all people in general, but I'm saying it from a male perspective, because sometimes, we're raised a certain way you're not supposed to. And I just feel like these are things that are going to help us heal. This is going to help the spiritual boom. You know, I learned a lot of spirituality from a very young age on my own about this manifestation goals, angels, essence. And anyway, I just go back to your book because there's so many elements. And what I love about it too, you're not saying, this is my faith, you do this. You're just saying, hey, I love everybody. I love everything. It's all open.
Yeah.
This is just my faith and this is what we talk about. But it still has that foundation of all the other principles that all the religions talk about. Again, it's just about practicing it. And that's it.
Well, I have a chapter in like called "Hey Kids, Let's Build the Perfect Religion," and the idea is we always look at what's different about religions. You know, say, oh, Hindus worship lots of different gods, and they're different than Islam, which only has one god, and that's all true. And all the different religions are pretty different, but they have a universality about them. There are some core beliefs that run through every faith tradition. And we need to focus more on those, because in focusing on those, we can find a mine that we can, you know, excavate the gems that we need in our lives. So, you know, I do it kind of facetiously building this new religion, but it's about, you know, it's taking those universal truths. But this isn't a book it's not even, I hope that a Catholic will read this book and become a better Catholic. I hope that a spiritual but not religious person will read this and become a better spiritual but not religious person. Right. I even hope an atheist will become a deeper atheist. Right. So I tried to really make it for everyone.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I appreciate that. Again, you're very eclectic, which I'm finding out too. I see that you have got a guitar and music. So I've got to ask you this, because one of my favorite rappers is Logic. Yeah. My daughter got me into Logic. I've seen him 3 times in concert. But what I love about Logic, or Bobby, is his book, which I've read and have the audio.
Yeah.
His story. But also, too, again, his whole thing of, you know, peace, love, positivity, all that. And just, he's so open about everything. How did you meet Logic? Because there's a connection.
Yeah, it's crazy. Believe it or not, I got contacted. Someone knew that I played chess, and someone from chess.com, this guy, Danny Wrench, who helps run chess.com, reached out and was like, do you want to be in this chess competition with celebrities?
Oh, wow.
And you could win money for charity. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. I'm I guess above average at chess, but I'm not like a great chess player by any stretch. And I think I played Logic. He was also into chess. He was one of the guys that I played along the way, and we stayed in touch, and he was a fan, and we've hung out a couple of times. I think I just did his podcast, and you know, he's trying to do movies now, he's just a great guy. Great guy. Yeah, and when you read his life story, it's
amazing.
It's astounding. Yeah. What's it called? The Brilliant Life of Bobby Hall.
It is. And again, I have the hardcover, but the audio. And for me, like I said, I'm more auditory. I retain photographic memory, and the audio is great. His book, there's highs and lows. It'll make you cry, you get angry, and you're just, again, it is, how do you come out of all that shit and you still maintain?
Yeah.
And again, I just like him, and I didn't even realize it. I'm listening to one of his albums, and like, you're on one album, you call.
Yeah, phone call.
Did I say, oh, they know each other. That's awesome. Anyway, I just think it's great, and I just love the fact that you're connected to him. Like I said, I love hip hop, and I just love his message, so I just think it's kind of cool.
Nice.
So what's on your playlist right now? What are you listening to? What do you got?
Let me see what I got here. What do I got here? I've been listening to...
Why do you have David Hasselhoff highlighted?
Hey, you weren't supposed to see that. I've been listening to The Smile.
Okay.
That is Tom York and Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. That's another side band of theirs.
Okay, didn't know that.
Very, very cool. Mm-hmm. Fruit Bats is a band I've been listening to a lot. I've been listening to a lot of old jazz these days. The Felice Brothers. I don't know if you know them. It's kind of a folk country, alt country kind of swing band, and very eclectic taste. Yeah. Good. I love it. But I'm a slave to the Spotify algorithm too, because I love the Discover Weekly, and if you hit it cycles through songs. it knows that you will like
That's
from what you
awesome.
listen to. And it's right. And it doesn't. And I'll just play it randomly, and someone I've never heard of, I'm like, this song is awesome.
That's good.
And
That's
it's
good.
like it knows me. It's like it's an AI in my brain.
I have to. I don't use Spotify so much. My girlfriend swears by it. I'm like, I just have all my music on a whatever. So I have to open my world and do that because I do like hearing new artists. I discover new people. Like, oh, that person's really good, and you're like,
It's pathetic.
Awesome. Yeah.
Pathetic. What is this, 2005? Come on. Get with the program.
It's
Are you buying albums on iTunes for $9.99
oh,
and putting them on your iPod?
Yeah, actually, I did just buy an iPod. I felt eclectic, and I just found one from China. It's the YouTube version, so I have the old iPod just because there's some days I don't want the phone. I just want to hear my music. So
Yeah.
I got the big bulky thing and the wires, and I'm like, I miss that.
And you're able to get music on into an iPod?
Yeah, they still do it. It still
still-
works. Yeah, they have that technology. We can do that.
We still can do that? Okay.
You can still do that.
Very good.
Yeah. I love that. So anything else? I don't want to take up all your time because you're a busy individual. But what else? Again, I mean, is there anything you want to plug? Do you want to say, or
No, it's good, man. It's a pleasure meeting you. It was great meeting you on Code 3, and I love how you produce, and you always bring a smile with you and a positivity, and everyone loves working with you. And, it's just so needed, and you've got so much pressure. You've got budgets and locations and days
and unions
and
stuff.
unions and angry actors with broken toilets and everything coming at you. So I just loved working with you. Hope we get to do it again. And I'm really glad you could swing by my house and have a little spiritual conversation.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I really appreciate it, and I say it with the utmost respect. I really, I hold you in high regard. So thank you. This was, happened to be in LA. Rainn invited me to his house. I'm so grateful. So thank you, sir. Until the next time, the next edition of In the Moment with me, Michael Jones. We'll talk to you soon. Peace. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, man.
Thank you, sir.